Man, you fast. You are fast. Um, my wife had me work on a lot of things offline, so uh, couldn't really get on, as much as I want. But yeah. Oh! I gotta get a tool. Hold on. If I can find it, then should be here though. There it is. Yeah, boy. Yeah, bada. Boy. There we go. Well, this is kind of an important tool. Um, update. Okay, let me get the thing. So I've been making these offline. Yeah, and these are casting eggs, and I'm gonna be casting these offshore, and I'm gonna be using flies because flies I have total control over, whereas soft plastics, I don't. Anyway, so yeah, I promised my wife that I was gonna. At first, I promised my wife that I was gonna. What was it? I was gonna fix something for her, and then it just went on and on and on and on and on and on. So that was kind of basically what happened, right? So anyway, I'm gonna tie something here, and if you guys remember, I made assist hooks out of this hook. This is from Gamakatsu. It's a Taman special, basically a live bait hook. And what I will show you guys is a technique that is used a lot in fly tying. But before that, we're gonna tie like some feathers here, okay? And just because I have them, honestly, I'm gonna put a tail of feathers here because I don't want to get stuck doing like the same thing over and over again. So last night I tied something, and um, it involved like well, this sort of thing. So today I'm gonna just start with something um, that is half of what I tied. I'm actually uploading that video right now from last night. Okay, it's just that I don't wanna. I'm bored. I don't wanna tie the same thing. That's why it looked weird. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there was a time when I just a few months ago I was live streaming regularly, and then it got kind of disrupted. But today, it's a holiday here in the UAE. It's actually the 54th foundation day of the nation, and it's a holiday. So instead of actually going fishing, and promised my wife that I was gonna test something out for her, like the car, because we just had one fixed. I just said, like, I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna stay home, uh, do a live stream for you guys. All right, so that's the tail. Duh. All right, so every time I tie a tail, okay, um, always a good idea to kind of secure it. Right. Um, Not a lot of people know that I used to extensively fly fish. Right. No, I mean, I say this a lot, that I tie flies and all this, and there's videos of me tying flies, but a lot of people actually know me for tying cyst hooks. And what they don't know is that most of the skills, if not all of the skills that I have acquired in tying assist hooks, is because of tying flies. Okay, so that kind of has to dry up. Okay. Now this is going to be a combination of and natural and synthetic fibers. Our synthetic is fish hair. It's what I have here. Oh my god, someone's calling. Hold on. Hey, bro. Let me call you back. I'm on live stream. Later, man. All right. My best friend calling. Um, Wanted to catch up, but we're live streaming. Um, Floating minnows. You see, here's the thing. And I can say this with confidence. Yeah, flies would elicit a lot more reaction bites from finicky fish. And I could say that with confidence because before I used to routinely, I mean literally routinely, upfish people using plugs with flies. And this is also the reason, actually, very good question, because it segues, yeah? So basically, it's the tuna season now for longtail. And there's a lot of instances where the tuna are actually kind of fuzzy. And when that happens, I usually cast soft plastics. But what a lot of people don't know is that I also do a lot of experiments on the side and have used flies. And guess what happens? The flies get struck. The flies get struck almost immediately when it lands in the water. Whereas with soft plastics, there has to be like a little finagling before um, before they get struck. So what flies do is when they land in the water, they actually have a movement already. The problem is getting the flies out. Sometimes also when your cast isn't really uh, right where it's supposed to be, you need a little bit of attraction. So this is where these things come in. Okay, so casting eggs, and this is not something new. Hawaiians invented this, and they still use it till this day in a method called whipping. So also in Rhode Island, okay, so in the U.S., Rhode Island uses a lot of these, and yeah, they work. All right, so fly tying hair, as you can see here, and just like hair, like real hair, this thing gets all over the place. So um, the I think the main difference between like I would say the flies that I use on fly rods versus flies that I use on conventional gear is that for conventional geared flies, I can actually afford to make them a bit bushier. And this is because of the fact that, I mean, this is for me. A lot of people probably would not agree. But in fly fishing, I find that the demands for the fly to be moving a bit more tantalizing on its own is higher because you don't have the speed. Okay. Whereas with conventional tackle, you could reel in fast, and that kind of makes a whole lot of difference because um, the fish the fish will have less time to inspect. All right. So with this one, what I'm gonna do is I will tie a small section of this around. Okay, let's start from the top, and I'm gonna do this in sections. Okay. There we go. So basically, what I want to do is to have uh, crud. All right. So I want to have the hair like that going around. Go this around my leg. Okay. Since we have the rotary function, we're going to use it. Tapering. Okay. Cutting it is still a bit more of a efficient way. So will that fly have a popper head too? This fly will be attached to a float. Will be attached to a leader that's going to be attached to a float, and that float is your device for casting. And it's kind of not popular outside of Hawaii and Rhode Island, but casting floats have been around for donkey years, and they work. And well, think of it as just a casting aid. There are sinking versions, and there are floating versions. So basically, what it is just a way for you to cast the flies out quite far. That's A. And B, when you do that, what happens is that the float kind of imparts a moving action on the fly as well. And winner, winner, man. I've been using this without a lot of people seeing. all over the place. I mean, I've started doing this like back in the Philippines a long, long time ago with casting bubbles that you use water to you fill it up with water, bubble floats. And I've caught some nice fish over the years, smaller fish. And then when I moved down here, um, kind of did the same, but then started using the fly rod. So I kind of stopped. But I've been tying flies longer than I have been fly fishing because I was using this to cast the flies with. So, kind of no stranger to this sort of thing, and not ashamed. I am very unapologetic. A lot of fly fishermen will probably scorn something like this. That's their right. That's up to them. But I'm not a purist. I tie flies that people would actually think that it's not fly fishing because I put like soft plastic tails on them, and a lot of purist fly fishermen would probably say that that's not right, and that's fine. You know, for me, it's always about uh, the way the lures are attracting fish and all that. Alrighty, I'll put that just. So basically, we're tying a deceiver. A deceiver is a pattern. It's not like you know a fly. The what do you call this? A set pattern. But we're gonna be tying things with a different technique, different from how Lefty actually did it. So just a heads up, there will be some differences. And like I said, I'm not a purist. So if I can bastardize things, I will. Alrighty, there we go. Now, half hitch that thing. Now, in a video that I'm uploading, wait, what's up, Isaiah? In the video that I'm uploading now, I'm tying something similar, but I don't have the feathers and stuff, and I don't have the flash either. So basically, um, in there, I always say, now, by the way, if you want your flies to be bomb proof, every step you take, like take for example what I've just done there, I finished the tail, right? This or the wing, whatever you want to call it. This one, the feathers. After wrapping it, super glue, and then now with this, after wrapping, super glue. Now, a very big advantage when you're using nylon thread, okay, is that when you're tying and you're zapping that thing, especially with this is thin super glue, as you could see here. Okay, very very thin. And as soon as you drop the super glue in, it goes in on the wraps. And this is plastic. This thing, this is plastic, so it literally fuses together with the thread, the body, and now you might have noticed that I put flash on. Okay, so it fuses and literally becomes a solid unit. Hold on, let me get some water, boys. Just a second. Sorry about that. Now, I mentioned also that I have a box and I intend to fill it up. Now, I'm going to show you guys. This is the fly that I tied for the video. All right, so I'm uploading it now, and you guys are going to see it in a bit. But I'm going to tie, um, like for this one right here. That's I'm going to put it here. So this fly again is not going to be used on a fly rod. So I'm going to tie this a bit bushy. And what I want to do is tie a few types of flies, and then from there, I'm gonna um, I am going to um, what's this? Have like a collection. Okay, so if one type of fly works, I'm just gonna go full production. Flies are less durable though, and may fall apart faster after a few strong bites. Um, yes and no, actually. Uh, there are flies that are pretty bomb proof that would last just as long as lures. And it also depends on how you construct the flies. Now, I can guarantee you that this one that I'm tying right now isn't going to fall apart quite fast. Even if, let's say, a barracuda or well, actually, you know what? I'm making a few for kingfish, and they have sharp teeth. And these ones I'm going to be using on tuna. So they need to be tied tough, otherwise they're just gonna disintegrate. But um, I mean, it's the same for lures. You know, you have a nice looking lure, and it goes through a barracuda treatment, and it's not gonna last. You know, so that's just the way it is. Flies and lures, they're kind of the same in that regard. So I wouldn't I mean I come from both sides of the spectrum, you know. So I use lures a lot. I use like even jigs that are metal, even spoons. Um, Spoons would probably survive longer, but still with the paint job and everything, one toothy critter and that's it. But um, here's the argument, right? Here's the argument. Flies are more durable than soft plastic. Okay, so that much we can agree on. But the problem here, okay, the problem here is that soft plastics are being used more. Yeah, soft plastics are being used more by a lot of people, and for good reason. They catch fish, but so do flies. Before soft plastics, flies were it bucktail. All right. So natural material, even synthetics, before soft plastics, they were very popular. They were the go-to. Problem is because they're stranded, obviously they will break faster. Doesn't diminish their effectivity. Also, now for me, if I was given an opportunity to fish with something that would catch fish when things are kind of difficult. Ah, crap. Ay, ay, ay. Um, I would, I would, I would fish with it. So, um, for these tuna in Fujairah, they are. I know soft plastics work because I used soft plastics on them. Um, the problem is with soft plastics, I have less control. Okay, so like take for example, um, for soft plastics, if the soft plastic is discontinued, I'm screwed because it's my favorite soft plastic, and I know it works. But if it's not sold anymore, what am I gonna do, right? So I'm stuck. Whereas if I tie flies and I found a fly that would work, I could replicate it over and over and over again. And guess what? Nobody else has it, right? Nobody else has it. So for me, that's a big win. That's a big advantage because I have total control over that. Soft plastics. And guys, that's exactly what happened. The soft plastic that I'm using was discontinued, and I'm down to my last legs. But see, here's the thing: before that even happened, okay, before that even happened, what I done was to do experiments, and after I catch fish, and that's rule number one: before you fuck around, be on the boards. Okay, so I do a lot of experiments, and um, I have found flies that work extremely well, not just work. Okay, so what happened was that I refined it, right? And kind of distilled what flies I need to be tying, or what type of flies I need to be tying for ut- utmost effectivity. And I found that there are several types of flies that actually work when the fish are less responsive. When the fish are responsive, you can throw anything. I mean, guys, when the fish are responsive, I'll throw a popper for a stick bait, and that makes it more interesting. Yeah, but when they're not responsive, that's when they're not responsive. That's the problem. Yeah, not when they are responsive, because when they're responsive, you can throw pretty much anything. I have in the past thrown flies with scents. Yes. I used to fish flies together with soft plastics a lot, and what I've done was to actually have like a spray, spray on stuff of scents. And I couldn't say I couldn't say that they worked for sure, because guess what? Um, Without the scents, the flies were already very effective on their own. So I just kind of stopped doing it. You know, and it did make a difference. Really, it it worked. So I found that as something that I didn't need. So I just stopped. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, if it gives you confidence, go ahead and do it. For me, especially with this method, wherein I actually have something that splashes uh, in front of it, right? It works. That's it. All I need. Now again, that super glue, that's gonna that's gonna fuse things, and I'm gonna leave that to dry. Now this fly will have like a 3D effect, so it's not flat. It's going to be like a minnow, and when you cast this out, reel it in. The tail here will move so well, and you can see here, right? It's full. Now, when you're tying flies, the most uh, I think the coolest thing ever when you're tying flies is for you to kind of visualize how the fly actually compresses with the water. And when you're tying flies, you kind of just acquire that after a while, you know. Um, Fresh water obviously is going to be different because you're dealing with terrestrials and insects and all that. But when you're tying for salt water, you're imagining um, shrimp, crustacea. If you're using or if you're making flies that are for the flats, yeah. Um, actually, and then there's fish, right? So there's quite a few things, and you have to kind of visualize how they look like when they swim. Okay, and the good part about fly tying, or the cool part, I think, about fly tying is the fact that you have to imagine your flies when they're wet and moving through the water. You have to visualize to be able to tie flies well. You have to acquire that. You have to kind of be able to imagine how your flies look like when they're wet and swimming. So when you're tying, when you're putting materials on, it's really not random. You actually need to visualize how it forms while it's going through the water. Very repetitive there, but just to give you an idea, it's not. This is where art and fishing collide, and you know how it is when you're using lures and you're kind of like a puppet master. Um, I would say fly fishing and fly tying take it to another level because instead of just being the puppet master, you kind of become a ventriloquist, which I believe is a higher discipline, because you have to literally make things on your own, and you're able to visualize things before they happen, right? And as you can see here, like painstakingly going through a lot of detail. And when you're tying flies, you'll notice that it's gonna be harder to actually not wrap. It's like you always want to wrap, but the game is to make it so you have less wraps and invisible wraps. That's the game. You can obsess over so many things and literally go nuts, eat nuts with these things. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. No, I use a casting rod and reel, whatever I use for popping. So I'm using my 8 foot medium. It's gonna be used with a 6,000. It depends on where I'm fishing. Now, if I am fishing from shore, I could use my shore jigging rods for this sort of thing. It depends on the floats because the floats actually have weights. So the casting, you respect the casting weights of the rod, of course, just to avoid breaking. And I'm gonna explain the whole thing. soon. I'm gonna do a whipping 101, just or fly whipping. I'm sure a lot of our Hawaiian members are going to be delighted when they they see it. They probably don't think that I know how to do this too, but I've been doing this years and probably longer than I have with fly fishing. No, not probably. It's definite because it was for me like a very easy way of fishing because I mean, growing up, the materials for tying flies, it was literally cheaper than buying lures. Even till this day, I have a shitload of tying material, and I can tie my own flies. You know, um, I can tie hundreds of flies, thousands, and it'll cost cheaper. It will cost far cheaper than actually lures. Even making lures, it takes so much time, takes so much longer than tying flies for me. And I have bad eyesight now. Before, I used to have better eyesight, and you know, I tie flies faster. Now, I'm slow. Here's a trick. So I press it. This is where it came from, by the way, boys. Not from definitely not from um, assist hooks. But okay, the reason why I'm tying this knot again is because I just want this to be secured. Yeah, I don't want the material to get unraveled. So yeah, see, that's why I always double up because just in case that screws up, then there's a couple more there. Right now, just super glue to seal everything. And then after that, we can flatten and put an eye. So a perfect combo for this is short jigging rods if you're fishing from shore. And see these flies here. Okay, now check this one out. All right. So this particular one, you can use this offshore. You can use this inshore. Okay. So uh, it's still small enough for literally any inshore fish, queen fish, to take it. Okay, with this same fly, I'm taking the tuna grounds, and I will catch tuna with it with that size. Okay, now with lures, I have to use like bigger ones, and if I use smaller ones, guess what? My casting distance gets diminished, right? But with this, I'm not casting this; I'm casting the float, and the float that I'm casting. Okay, like take for example this one. This particular one remains the same weight. So my casts are always going to be predictable, distance, and all this. I have total control. Whereas, if the okay, check this out. With the same system, if they don't bite this and they want something smaller, okay, I could just switch to a smaller fly, and they will respond. A smaller, sparser fly, or even a bigger one. The weight does not change. Whereas on conventional tackle, okay, I'll have let's say 40 grams, and they're biting 40 grams, but the boat has to get closer because 40 grams will not have a lot of distance, okay, as much as an 80 would. So this sort of system works. Now, what's interesting is if I'm fishing with a lot of people, all right, and they're just think about this. Just think about this and what my logic is. If I'm fishing with six other people and they're fishing with poppers and stick baits, and what's being bit or like 60 grams. Okay. And then um, I'm throwing an 80-gram float, let's say. If I'm throwing an 80-gram float, technically I'd be able to outcast them, right? So what happens is that while the boat's moving towards the direction of the fish, they'll wait until they're on their range. Whereas for me, I'm already casting out. The lure has already landed, or the float has already landed, and I am actually retrieving while they're still casting on their casting phase. So um, it's more efficient, isn't it? This is literally more about efficiency for me than anything else. All right, there you go. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, look at that. Don't tell me that that doesn't look good. Now, how do you make it even better? Check this out. Boom, just like that. Just like that. It's that easy. Okay, so here, let's put dab right there. Take this eye, press it on. Super glue like this, it takes so much time. You know, sometimes it doesn't even stick. Okay, here we go. That's what I was afraid of. So you have to do it again. I mean, the fastest way of doing this is just literally use epoxy. You know, I'm trying to avoid like a small eye as well, because putting a small eye on here would kind of make it difficult. Jeez, man, really? The super glue is so runny. Right, there we go. Crap. Now it's starting to stick. I might have to use epoxy. It's so annoying. This is the most annoying bit for me. Yeah, it does. It does. But see, the thing is, super glue is supposed to actually kind of stick. But it's also because of the adhesive on the back of the eye. You know, kind of does that. That sucks. Uh, UV epoxy it is. Just with UV epoxy, it's so fiddly, you know. But it works. And I need to put epoxy on this one too, so that works out well. It's just that I actually wanted the UV glue to sort of, or sorry, the super glue to hold the eye in place. I'm gonna put that to the side there, position this, and just zap. And it should hold it. There we go. You know, we put another eye on this side, and then we can glue the eye permanently. This step, okay, just FYI, this step is something that I actually do separately. So I do a lot of these flies, and then um, I deal with the eye separately. At least that's how I used to do them. I cannot process these like one at a time, because it's very inefficient. Ideally, the kind of glue that you put on here as well isn't the runny type; it's the thick type. It works better. Now you can put eyes, you or not, really up to you. Um, I uh, I am not really the type of guy that fusses over like eyes on flies and stuff. There are guys that obsess over this, and they swear by it. That's all in good. That is all in good. So for some people, eyes are very important. For me, not really. Um, they make the fly look nicer, but I believe that even without flies, a well tied fly is a well tied fly. Some people obsess, you know. All right, so you have a good dollop there. You zap that, and it kind of puts things in place. A good light is very, very important. Very, very important. I've learned that over the years. And before I started with the these UV glues, they started with fly tying. Yeah, they were quite a premium product then, and a lot of people were they were gatekeeping. They didn't want to share. So there were a lot of companies that actually popped up that were selling for fly tying exclusively, and yeah, they made businesses out of it. Different types of glue, for different manufacturers, but they're all kind of the same. Right now, you could easily just go to Amazon and buy UV glue for cheap, for cheap. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but you see how I tied the tail, and then you can see there that it's showing up. And this is actually UV reactive, this color right here. So you can see that if the light shines on this thing, the pink kind of glows through. So when this is on the water, this hair becomes translucent, and the uh, the inside kind of becomes visible. And here's a trick, guys. If you want your eyes to shine, put a little bit of epoxy, um, and you'll see they come alive. Okay, check this out. See that? They just come alive, man. The epoxy cuts through all the muck or the inconsistencies on the surface, and it just makes it so that it's clear. So as you can see there, it's shinier. Hey, is that Yogi? I'm sorry, I have my what do you call this? Alrighty. So that's it. See, very easy, guys. I mean, seriously. So now we have a white-headed fly with a feather tail, right? a little bit of a flash there, and I have to say, even on a fly rod, this thing looks freaking good. And it'll collapse, okay, just a hair like that. It'll form a teardrop shape when it's wet in the water, like that, with the tail. Okay, so this is going to the uh, the UV box of God. So it's gonna go outside. It's gonna cure under the sun, and this is just gonna harden the epoxy even more. But that's it. Okay, so it's that easy, really. I'm just gonna put this on the side here. Um, yeah, there we go. Just gonna put that on the side. Then move on to other stuff. All right. So um, crap. I have these glasses. I have to wear glasses that kind of magnify things. I caught a nice blue goatfish on a 20-gram sinking stick bait today. Nice. That is cool. That is cool. Hold on, let me get some water. You can, with tying for whipping flies, um, I found that it's a little bit more forgiving, I would say, when it comes to hooks. Um, Fly tying, usually they're very they're they're very strict when it comes to hooks. And yeah, it's so easy to actually get lost in all the mumbo jumbo when it comes to hooks for fly tying. I find that for whipping, um, you know, it's pretty straightforward for me. I would just use a heavier hook than usual. Do you ever whip with bubble that you fill up with water? Um, I I used to. I used to, Brody. I used to. Um, Back in the Philippines. And to tell you honestly, they're nice and everything. It's just that after a while, I find the bubble to be kind of a hassle. And you know what? There's a trick to that as well. Instead of filling it with water, you can fill it with oil, and you actually play with the densities. So there's a massive advantage, and you could go ape nuts when it comes to those. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, for me, I found them to be kind of a disadvantage because when I tie on, let's say, a float, I want to like just cast it out without worries. It's just no delay and stuff. And the uh, the bubble floats are also kind of fragile, especially when you're fishing around rocks. And I've slammed a couple of them on rocks already, growing up. So I have a love hate relationship with them. It's bad casting. It's bad. What do you call this? Practice on my side. But you know, I found that um, I would actually stick to something that's less fragile. So I make my own, right? And I make my own out of resin and out of wood. So and I can make them a few sizes. Okay, I can make them a few styles. This one has a popper. This one's the regular one. I could just make them easy. Resin ones, I can make them smaller. I can make them bigger. I can make them like kind of like a trolling head, so that it has like action of its own. Um, I can make it so that it skips on top, or it could be that just on the bottom, or something that makes it swim. So yeah, I like having control over what I'm casting now. A bubble float is very singular, so you can have it like a float. Okay, that's one. You can have it sink a little bit, or you can put oil so that you can make it neutrally buoyant. Um, so those are it, but they're super fragile. You know. Um, Actually, you know what? I had some from Singapore, and I'm pretty sure they were used for something more different, but they were harder plastic, and they had two chambers. So you could they came in different colors as well, but um, you know, still plastic, still breakable, still fragile. So what can I say, man? I'd rather use something that's not. You know what I mean? All right, for this one, uh, I want to try something that I have not done for a really long time, but let's do it. This is a bit complicated, I guess. Um, but that's fine. I mean, you know, um, a lot of people would use this for reference, but we're going to be using a tool. Um, Gosh, these hairs, dude. Holy crap, man. This is what I hate. This is why I love and hate synthetic material like this hair and stuff. They're almost essential when you're fishing for. Well, they're not almost. They are essential when you're fishing for uh, saltwater fish. Bucktail and natural materials are a joy to tie with. I mean, they have properties that are just stuff of dreams, but they break so easy. They're so freaking fragile. But synthetics are tougher, and they work well. The problem is almost a nightmare sometimes too. Okay, put that there. Uh, there we go. So I'm just gonna put that on top, and I'm gonna taper this sucker. So when you taper it, you'll find that it'll lay flat better. There we go. And flash a little bit. I don't go overboard with my flash. A lot of people kind of like super flashy flies. Even some that have flies that are entirely made of flash. Uh, Kind of not one of those. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Right? I'm gonna take half. Mm, there we go. So that's half. I'm gonna put it to the side and this side as well. All right, so I will split that like so. Do a couple of wraps to keep them on that side. Spiral back, and you'll have your flash on either side, just like that. All right. Now I'm gonna make this. Um, I'm gonna make this so that it's just going to be a silhouette, right? And what's gonna happen is that this flash is going to get encased um, by the hair. All right. Also, I will. So here's the trick. So this is orange, right? And it's gonna be a contrasting color. So I will put this on here. Yikes. Um, might. Now this is gonna look really complicated, guys. Okay, but it's really not. So I'm gonna warn you a bit here. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Oh crap. All right, let me take something here. Right. So I'm gonna use this tool. I'm not too sure if it's going to show up well. But we're gonna do a fly tying technique called dubbing. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. I used to struggle with this. Fucking bullshit. But after learning, I can safely say that, wow, this is one of those things that I just freaking love, man. You know, it's just so cool how it can do things, right? So, all right. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pull in like a bit of this braid. Okay, I'm gonna give myself a really long length. Look at a pair of scissors that I can cut this with. Or a knife. And I don't cut braid with scissors anymore. FYI. All right, because and by the way, when you're doing this, do this with a contrasting color because what's going to happen is that this is going to show up, and I'm going to use orange because orange kind of looks cool. The dogs agree. All right. Now, there's several ways of doing this. I use a dubbing loop, and I use um, secure this. Okay, secure this, and I usually put this on top and like seriously secure it. There we go. Right. So this thing here, um, see it's there. All right. I'm gonna put this here. Uh, actually, this is backwards. There we go. So I will put this. Okay, just so you see. Okay, let me let me focus. That should be it, huh? Put this here. Bang. All right. So, see, this is gonna get, this is gonna look so fucking complicated, and I assure you, it is. Uh, so you take that, and this you have to have a rotary vise, okay? And then I go just like that, okay? And then I take this here, okay? And we put it there, just like that. And we're gonna spin this. But before that, what's gonna happen is we're gonna prepare our materials. So this is it. The good thing about this is that it's already kind of stranded and it's already kind of in its length. So we just cut. Okay, so cut. Oops, we cut the same length really for everything. You know, and you need a few bits of this. So while you're doing this, and you can do this in advance if you're doing this production style stuff. Uh, to prepare the length, right? Uh, three. I think we're gonna have like 4 bunches. Okay. Four should be enough because it's a small fly. There we go. Can't keep this. Um, Normally you would use super glue to kind of, uh, put this on here, but since my thing is heavy, I am just going to spread this. Okay, like so. See that? Just be careful. So we take the bunch, put it on the dubbing loop, and then take it. Be very careful. Like I said, a lot of people struggle with this thing. A lot of people don't like this thing, including myself before. All right, so I'm just going to space this evenly. As you can see here, because of the weight of my spinner, and that's a self-made spinner. Okay, so I can literally just spread this, and that thing is holding everything together. Okay, so just spread it evenly. It's okay if it's kind of sparse, because you'll have like a few wraps of this thing around the shank, and you can space it according to how you like your fly to look. But I can assure you, this is not as complicated or as hard as it looks. Yeah, you just give it a chance when you're doing it. Okay, so now I'm gonna pinch this thing. Okay, I'm gonna pinch this thing here, and actually I'm gonna do a wrap here. Okay, no, that'll hurt because this is braid. All right, so I'm gonna spin this right here. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Okay, so I'm just gonna spin it, and I'm gonna hold this tight. Wow! Oh, I messed up. But you get the idea. All right, so I'm gonna spin it. We're gonna do it again. That's fine. I'm gonna spin it. Okay, hold this tight, and then I'm gonna let go, and this thing will spin, and it will actually wrap these fibers around. So not beyond salvation. As you can see, this is one of the reasons why people freaking hate this thing. You could use super glue to bind it so that it doesn't do that. Okay, but we're gonna do it again because it's actually not as bad as you think it is. Yeah. All right. So let's go this way. We are going to spin it around. Counter that. Alrighty, that should be it. Hold on. And it happened live. So yay. Okay. A few reps there should not hurt. There we go. So that was it, yeah. Remember what I said. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spin this around so it creates tension, and then as soon as it's super tight, what I will do is I will let go and pull on this, and you'll see that things are going to spin. Okay, that's literally something that I had to figure out. No one wanted to teach me that shit. Um, yeah, so some of the guys that actually, unfortunately, there's some guys here that didn't want to show me that. They were just um, gatekeeping, really. And I've found that in fly tying, there are some guys that are willing to share a lot, and there are just some assholes that don't, because they don't want you to, for some, some like seeing progression. Some want to keep you at a spot. Unfortunate, but for me, I like sharing stuff. By the way, you need a comb for this, yeah? So we have one here. You could also use a needle, uh, or a bodkin, which is this one here. Or you could use both. All right, so there. So, ah, motherfucker. Shit. Ah, okay. Yeah. We're going to keep on doing this until we get it, boys. Oh my god, it was almost there. It was almost there. So let me concentrate on this, okay? And stop my whining. There we go. So you can see there, spinning, and then once it binds, you could just kind of keep on going, and then bang. Now it's going to spin, but a lot of the fibers are going to be trapped. So you need to pry it off just like that. And they'll come off. You could be very tough with this and use a steel brush and have the fibers really come out. Okay, so and that's the good thing about this, because remember, this is braid. That shit's tough. All right, now don't be afraid. According to the Russians, don't be a pussy. Do not quote me on this. All right, so still keep on spinning this thing because you don't want it to be loose. All right, so it will. There are some that are not going to twist. So I keep on twisting it like really, really tight. and it forces everything to just kind of twist up. Bang, just like that. There we go. And that's a good one. All right, now I'm gonna see. Now I can preen these back. Just like that. And even after you do this, you can actually um, just there's some here that's trapped. I can pop those out. See here, it's all twisted up. I can just see how they kind of pop out there, right? Bang. This fly can be tied. Like take for example, the material would be you can tie it a bit bushier, but material could be something like um, craft fur, and you will have a fly that's far bushier than this. Okay, there we go. Right? See that? Oh, now I'm just gonna. I am so out of shape when it comes to this, man. I used to tie these like fairly regularly, and it looked a hell of a lot better than this one. All right, there we go. That's not bad actually, but you'll see what we'll do here. All right, so I screwed up again. That's fine. Take this, do a couple of wraps. Seal that shit up. It's like the honeymoon. Bang. Okay, and cut that. The I think the loop was too long. Okay, so we're gonna fix that, and it's gonna look good. I can guarantee you that. The good thing about this is that this is a relatively sparse fly, and again, this is something. Yeah, it does. The profile, and if you have everything kind of prepared well ahead of time, it's actually going to be quite easy. So that, see, now the thing with this is because of the braid that's inside, right? That's gonna shine through, and you can see here that it looks similar to the other one, right? But when you reel this in, this will actually pulse, giving it movement. So this is something that would be like a good squid imitation. Uh, you could put squid eyes here. It could be a shrimp if you put weights on the bottom. Okay, so again, that thing kind of got loose there. The problem with nylon thread is that when you're cutting it and you're cutting too close without a tag, it comes loose. That's why we keep on having to retie our whip finish. Okay, so if you whip finish and then you don't cut close, you cut here, okay, you'll have a little bit of a tag. It's not going to unravel. Okay, brush this. Now, you could be very tough with this, as I mentioned. Okay, let me look to see if I have the brush. I know I have a brush here, a steel brush of sorts. Like ever since the move, it's been very difficult to find shit. Nope. Okay. Where the heck is it? I have like steel piece brushes that I use specifically for these guys. And you could also use Velcro. But the steel brushes, they were just so freaking tough. And this is also one of the reasons. Aha, here we go. This will work, man. I knew I had a brush here, I just didn't know exactly what it was. But this thing would work. Okay, this is a relatively softer brush, but this will work. So, you can really get in here and separate a lot. And it's not going to damage much because it's plastic. Right. The advantage of this, even if the the fibers were all the same length, right? Because you're wrapping it, what happens is the lengths are going to be staggered. So as you can see here, it forms a perfect taper, right? Because you're winding forward, and every time you wind forward, the same length fiber kind of becomes staggered, shorter, right? So there, nice tapered fly. Okay, and as a bonus, you will have that orange shine through. And again, it will compress. Okay, it'll compress and it will form a teardrop shape when we're reeling it in. So kind of like the same thing, but not really, just different styles. Okay, um, we'll put an eye on that just so it doesn't look like it's a weird thing. Okay, and since it's been watching a lot of porn, we're gonna put a red eye because it didn't really get a lot of sleep. Ties in with the storyline, right? So put an eye there, and as you can see, looks real good. Um, Jeez, I can't believe I have to go through this crap again because it's the same material and it doesn't stick, right? You know it. Put it there. Right. and I love this UV thing, but it's also kind of sensitive to like the light. So what happens is that just a little bit, and then kind of get stuck. All right, so I put. You saw me do that, right? So put it in the back there, and another bit here. Not going to be easy for this one because the light might not reach it. Whoa. Kind of too much there. You have to be fast for this particular side because you might run. Or not. There we go. There we go. That's going to be a nice head. That's what she said. That is going to look real clean. Now, this is where the rotary vise pays for itself. See, rotate that, make the head rotate, go around the eye while you're rotating, makes the eye glisten. Rotate that. Okay. So while you're rotating that, it'll distribute everything. This is something that I used to deal with regular basis. Yes, there's gel super glue, but guess what? Kind of hard to find here, and if you import, it's also very expensive. So there, you can see that. Okay, just zapping it. Okay, we don't need to make it dry, you know. But what we're gonna do is actually form a really a nice round head for this. Now, in the past with 5 minute epoxy, I have a trick wherein I would actually just wait until the epoxy is kind of tacky and then apply it. But now, um, you have to apply it in layers, basically, just to get the same thing. But you can see there that the head is formed quite nicely. Okay. So there we go. And that thing is going to be tough. It's going to withstand some take. Now I've fished with flies before where they hardly had anything on them, and still the fish were attacking like there was no tomorrow. Flies work like that. The more you use them, the more they get beat up. Um, the more fish like them for some weird reason. So a lot of flies that are sold are actually quite thick for my liking. Um, when I tie my own flies, they're sparse. I'm tying these thick because I'm using conventional tackle. But if I'm using fly tying gear, this is gonna be sparser. Like for fly fishing, maybe this would be as sparse or as thick as I would go for something like this. This would be on the thick side. Um, it would be more sparse for my uh, fly tie or fly fishing. Okay, so there we go. As you can see there, that thing has a nice taper, the tail, and it has flash inside, right? Another thing that you could do is also mix in flash with the hair so that you have a little bit of flash, but don't go too overboard when it comes to that here. But you can see there that's a nice fly, and also a bonus for this: if you're actually casting this, um, it's very, it's very aerodynamic, and it'll cast really well, right? Yeah, but when this is in the water, that orange from the loop shines through. You could use colored wire as well, other colors that you want the insides to be, but it kind of looks white, right? But when it gets wet, there's another color that shines through, so that kind of makes it a bit more realistic. Again, teardrop shape for this, okay? And nice fly, man. Here's the other one, right? That we tied earlier. So this is a bit bushier. These flies are actually kind of similar in a way that they're they have like their own profiles and stuff, but um, two tying uh, styles. Okay, so this one we're using a dubbing loop. This one we were stacking. Okay, so we stacked the fly fibers and then tied them off hollow tie. Was it? No, no, we tied around the shank. So yeah, different with the hollow tie. The one that I tied for the video that I just uploaded was a hollow tie, which again kind of looks similar, you know. But these flies will work. I'm gonna give them a swim this afternoon just to see how things are. Hopefully, I'd be able to take. Well, yeah, I'll be able to take you guys for sure. So I'm gonna film just so you see. Maybe I'll explain the setup as well. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, they look decent. So uh, hopefully you guys would be able to replicate this as well. I mean, this is honestly very easy. It's not, it's not. They're not complicated at all, right? Essentially just tying fluff on the hook. I'm not gonna put them in the box yet because I'm still going to have to um, what do you call this? I'm still gonna have to um, dry them up outside, but I still have hooks here, so I'm gonna keep going. I want quite a few bits actually, and I want flies that I can take with me on both uh, smaller game and tuna. So that's the mission. And the good thing is for these two, they are good for tuna. All right, so I'm gonna tie like a different, this almost the same fly, really, but I'm gonna tie it with a different color. All right, I want a different colored back. It's mostly going to be um, minnow flies because we're fishing for king mackerel and tuna. I'm gonna tie this bush here. This is going to be the tail, if you didn't know. Okay. How do you judge the length? Okay, so look, 1, 2, 3. See that? And I don't go past 3 for the length. Okay, so a few wraps there, and then I will push this down and make it so it's around the shank. Okay. And cut the excess. Here we go. I've used this hook as assist hooks. I actually have videos to show this. If you dig through, it's fairly recent, but yeah, you could. There's no there's no rule. There's no rule that tells you not to use a particular size or a particular style hook for assist hooks. Um, but hey, what's up? But the only thing is that for jigging hooks, they're going to be more efficient at hooking. Okay, and they're going to be easier to tie on. That's pretty much it. So there's no such thing as a rule that prohibits you from using, this hook or that hook for tying assist hooks. Now, this particular one, I've tied assist hooks with. Uh, I've used this for tie rubber as well, the bigger size tie rubber. They're okay. I mean, these are literally made for spangled emperors. Taman. Okay, it's called Taman Special. But Taman is a spangled emperor, so kind of snapper. All right, so the tail is there. Now, I'm going to use light blue. All right, so we're going to use light blue with the white. God, what a mess. There we go. Just pick out like a bunch and then cut. Okay, now another skill that you need to develop when you're actually tying flies, especially when you're doing things in bulk, is um, judging the material uh, volume. And that really comes with time. And a lot of that also is like when you tie flies in volume, um, you kind of have to develop it. So for me, I like uh, throwing myself at the deep end when it comes to learning. So, you know, uh, learn the hard way, learn the long way. So most of the stuff that I actually talk to you guys about and share with you guys are freaking shortcuts. And what drives me nuts sometimes is that even if people are given shortcuts, they still want to do things the hard way. So it drives me off the wall sometimes. All right, so we have this, right? And then uh, we have to pick out same sort of volume for the white, and that would be it right there. So estimate, guesstimate, whatever. Okay, but check this out. So you have that. Put this together, and you'll find that they're actually about the same size. You know, you just acquire it. A lot of videos would actually say like, oh, pencil size and this and this and that, but the reality is it kind of depends on um, the material that you're using. Like, take for example, this is long stranded material, and I know that if I cut this there, okay, just as an example, okay, cut this there, and I fold it, okay, because that's what I need. I'll fold it, and it's the thickness that I need. It's not this. It's when it's double. So again, like I said, um, you kind of develop that when you're doing this sort of thing, using a lot of stuff, right? Using a lot of material. You kind of don't need to um, get into this like too heavy, okay? Like, you don't have to nerd out what I'm saying. Now, the thing that you need to probably remember when you're doing this is the fact that you have to tie things sparsely. Don't go overboard with the material, because it is so easy to go overboard with the materials, and that's not going to do you any good. It is so easy, and tying things sparse will mimic the prey more than actually tying it full. Okay, so you see, if you can see there, I've actually distributed it so that it's wrapping half of the shank of the hook. So when I get this, okay, so measure that. Okay, I'm gonna put this here on this side, and I will comb this so that, okay, right now I'm going to paper this. Right, just like that. I'm gonna put this here. Okay, see? So I have half blue, half red, half white, and then I will fold this back. See, folding it just on its own side. So white on the bottom, blue on top. And for now, don't worry about which side it goes to. On the bottom, you can see there that it's stuck on the hook. It wants to go either left or right. It doesn't matter. Okay, put the wraps in front. And you can see there that it's actually like blue back, me adjust this sucker right here. See? Now we need to distribute a little bit because it's kind of bound up there. So my wraps are not tight, that I'm not able to do that. But as you can see, distributed. There we go. So, bang, just like that, you have a division. Now, if you want to blend that in, you should brush, and you'll have nicely blended two sides right there. You can move forward, okay? Tie on a half hitch. And that right there is already kind of like a finished fly. You can actually tie it like that, put an eye on either side. That's kind of done. If you want something like that, okay, a little bit of super glue, just so things won't unravel. Now, when you're cutting, this is something that I screwed up a lot on before I would cut shit like that, okay? Here's a trick. Because what's going to happen if you start cutting shit like that, what's going to happen is you're going to end up cutting your thread. So, have a finger, push the thread out, just like that. All right? Just like that. And then cut. Because I cut my thread so much before. It was infuriating. All right. So that's a very, very good tip. Now, we haven't put flash on this, and I'm not going to because flash isn't always necessary, believe it or not. So I'm going to move forward just like that, and then I will do two half hitches. Oops. Um, this is a Japanese hook, size 18. So yeah, it's about 3.0, I would say. You're right. It's about 3.0, but the sizing is different. So for this particular fly, I can actually take it out on in the Dubai side, and I can take it out in the East Coast for tuna. And this is something that will catch both of them. All right. So again, I'm gonna take, but this time I'm gonna take like a shorter length like that, and I'm gonna double that up. But I'm gonna cut short of it because guess what? We're gonna taper. Wow. Let's put it up here. Luckily, it didn't mix up with the trash that much. All right. So I am going to taper. Tad bit here. Oh, wow. Too long. So I am going to bring it back. Take the longer bits and put it in the middle. Still tapers it. Because it's not going to be even. Well, what you want is for this to be shorter. Now, if it's too much, then we could always cut it. But this is like there. You want this to be shorter than the previous tie. Okay, so there we go. That should be it. Okay, and then again, I will put this around the hook. Okay. I'm doing this whip just so it won't slip. But you can do a half hitch just so it won't slip. Again, positioning this on the 50% of the hook. Okay, okay. There we go. Wrap twice. And when you cinch down, you're cinching down, it'll keep it on the 50% mark, just like that. I'm using the monitor as like a mirror, so I'm seeing stuff as well. So there we go. You can see it there. Then we can wrap forward. Okay. And then we can just, same thing, preen these back. Just like that. Now the white side is weird because it wants to jump forward. All right. There we go. Now we wrap. Okay. So we have that, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like the whole head at the back here with just blue. Okay. And I want it to be a bit bushy. So I will double this up like so. I'll cut the excess here. Okay. And I want the head to be a bit bushy and a bit full. And the head's gonna be like that. So we cut it again. So this is like 4 times the volume. Okay. And then I will taper it a bit. Just a tad bit. Okay. And then you put it there. 2 wraps, and then I make it 3, 4. Okay. And I will make this spin and have it cover the shank. Okay. Tie back a little bit. Ooh. Okay. I'll use this thread because I couldn't let go of this. All right. I want this to be super tight, so I'm gonna use braid. too thick for this, I think. Got it. All right. There we go. I just want to gather. See, now I can cinch it tight. There we go. So now I can literally spin this around. So I want the head to be bushy to help it push a lot of water. Ooh. Whoops. Uh, yeah, that what do you call this? That reel is they made a video. Um, okay, I'm gonna switch back to nylon here since it's not moving. Lately, I've been too busy doing house chores. It's the it's Christmas, so my wife wanted me to do like decorations and stuff, and then also um, there were stuff that I wasn't able to do last year when we moved in that I had to do now because I put them off for a year, and stuff that I couldn't work on because of the summer. All right, so that worked out well for us here. So it's evenly distributed. That's what we wanted. All right, so a little bit of a gap here. All right, so now that we have that, that was an episode and a half, wasn't it? Okay, a little bit of preening. I mean, you could literally see the fly coming alive there with the head, right? And with the color, so it's two-tone. Okay. So we will just preen this back. And then make the head. And don't wrap on the material, wrap in front of it. And then it is there. Now, hold on. See, here's the thing with this, right? And this is what freaking annoys me. Sometimes the material doesn't go where it's supposed to. So flat nose pliers no um, with no grooves. When you let it bite down, it helps manage the material, and bang, makes it behave. So there we go. And I build a dam in front to make it conical without wrapping on the material. So all it is a thread dam. Okay. Yay. See, this is why I always do like a few wraps. There we go. That should be fine. Throw this. Right? Look at that thing. No trimming needed. And it has like a really good profile. So what I do, okay, is with this side here. Just put it there. It fucks your chair up. I used to do this with on my jeans, so I'm just doing the same thing, but on my jeans. Now, the if you done this right, there's no trimming needed, and I'll show you how it looks like. Again, no trimming on this. And if you done it right, you will have a fly that is freaking good looking. Yeah, look at that. No trimming needed. And again, see, now just an eye. So I'm hoping that you guys could actually uh, do stuff like this. I mean, I'm literally giving you the keys to some of uh, the best flies you could use for certain fish. Like this one, it's actually perfect for barramundi, and it was built for barramundi. I'm not gonna mention the name of the fly, but because this one's kind of like generic, not the right materials for it. But that fly is actually sold for like what $9 to $12 each. It's made by Rainey's, and a friend of mine actually invented this fly, and he taught me the steps. So I'm showing you guys like a shortcut of this, right? Also a different hook for this fly, but yeah, I tied it by instinct too. It's so weird. It could be a glass minnow, it could be anything. It's a good fly to imitate a lot of things. I've caught a shitload of barramundi on this. I've caught tuna. I've caught dorado. I've caught queenfish. I've caught fish on the flats with this. I've caught kingfish. But yeah, what a nice, wonderful fly. All right, now super glue, just a tad there, and it goes all the way to the bottom. Bang, just like that. Right? No flash. No flash. Right? This fly will move um, real nicely, and it'll catch everything. This particular one. What I like about this hair, okay, not like the original. The original actually, um, it tangles. Yeah, it tangles if you tie it too long. So this is only possible because I'm using fish hair. But if I'm not using fish hair, what happens is that it can easily tangle on itself. So you have to tie it on longer hooks. But for this particular one, because I'm tying it on a live bait hook, essentially, um, yeah, it'll stay. All right, ice, I guess. I only have red ice. Okay, so we put it there. Okay, where's my zapper? There it is. Other side. I really love this fly. This is one of those that I have to say this is kind of challenging to tie. Um, Not gonna lie, it took me a while to actually learn this, but it's super worth it. Um, this is one of those flies that you can. I mean, I know I'm gonna use this on conventional tackle, and it's not designed for that. And my apologies to the big guy in heaven. He passed away. What 2 years ago? he, he's probably he's one of those guys that would say like, yeah, do it, man, that'll work. If he knew that I was going to cast this behind an egg instead of actually saying, well, he will warn me though that a lot of people would probably hate me for it because um, purists and all that, you know but he would never say no. He would say, go ahead, tell me how it works, tell me how it works out. He was always like that. Right. Now I'm just gonna. Our neighbor's building something, so you hear thuds. I don't know if you'll hear it. God, this eye is giving me issues, man. This one eye on this side right here. Right now, I'm just gonna put epoxy to go around the original pattern. Um, just has like a stick-on eye that goes on either side, but righty, here we go. So it doesn't have this thing that encapsulates the eye. The original doesn't have that. But having epoxy on your wraps like that actually makes this thing tougher. And we're not fly fishing per se. Although I could use this for fly fishing and it would still actually catch. One of my confidence flies actually. There we go. So with this one, okay, well, what you could do is you could still put stripes, um, dots, whatever, just to kind of make it conform to your locality. Um, make it look like a sardine with the dots. Stripes would be obviously mackerel. So you could have like a blue mackerel pattern. You could use a darker tone of blue. Um, you could use green, right? I use light blue, but look at that. Don't tell me that doesn't look nice, man. Again, this will actually kind of look like a teardrop in the water, right? As mentioned. I could have just easily put super glue, boom, put it there, and then it'll be like um, the usual fly that it is. Because for this particular one, it doesn't need like a hard head. Okay, there we go. So that's it, man. in this stream. Have you ever used a popper instead of a casting egg for fly for a fly? Yeah. Um, the thing with using a popper instead of a casting egg is that it will tumble. Okay, because of the way it's balanced. That's one. Two, most poppers are tuned so that they would actually kind of move. So the biggest issue there is that the fish will not find the fly; they will find the popper more because of it being active. But what you want is something that doesn't have that much action, but gives a little bit of action to the fly to make it swim. Now, if you put a sinker in front of your fly, it will have a little bit of an effect that in a way you can actually cast it out, but it's not going to move side to side. But a casting egg would. Also, a casting egg, let's say a sinking casting egg, would have like a bigger surface area. So while you're reeling it, let's say a 1 ounce casting egg versus a 1 ounce sinker, would a 1 ounce casting egg is bigger. It's literally bigger than a 1 ounce sinker. So what happens? Let's say it's like this, and this is what a 1 ounce casting egg. Okay, or you know what? Here's a better example: 1 ounce casting egg, and what happens is it goes in the water. It has like a little bit of a wobble, and it translates it to the fly. Whereas a sinker would go down more, and you'd have to reel in faster. So that's the biggest difference there. Now, when you pause, sinker just drops down. Carolina rig, yeah, yeah. So that's kind of common. You could do that. The problem is it sinks pretty fast, so it doesn't really give you that much, leeway when it comes to that. But a casting egg would actually give you a little bit more flexibility when it comes to um, that. It's an auto, bro. Why aren't you focusing? There we go. I need a haircut, boys. But yeah, so that's it. I've tried Carolina. What do you call this? I've tried Carolina rigs in the past because that's like easy. And I'm not gonna lie, I've caught fish. Okay, but the sinker sliding up and down, that's kind of a disadvantage, especially when you're casting. Sometimes the sinker actually goes and slides, and your fly is left, because remember, your fly, this actually has a little bit of resistance. So what happens is that this gets left, your sinker is here, and sometimes um, it doesn't happen too often, but it has happened enough that it kind of annoyed the fuck out of me. So there's fish actually going after the sinker because it's silver, right? Um, if you can paint it black, you can do it any other color you want. Go ahead. I mean, it's the same thing for the floats. It's just that um, the the casting eggs, they're um, I don't know. I mean, fish kind of don't see them as a target most of the time. Um, I guess because of it, I don't know. It could be the unusual shape. It could be like the lack of action, or you know. Uh, but I mean, man, I've got cut by barracuda as well. So yeah, it's a lottery draw. But the egg, the casting eggs just give you more, more action. As far as castability is concerned, there's actually also, they're not going to cast as far as a bare sinker because uh, they create a bit more drag when it comes to the casting part. Okay, but what it does is when it's in the water, it could be that it's neutrally buoyant, especially for the resins. Resin versions you cast out, they cast like rockets, go up far, and then when you reel it in, um, they give like a little bit of an action. But I think the biggest advantage for me, okay, the biggest advantage of the eggs compared to like a sinker is the fact that you can use really long leaders. And mind you, I actually use tapered leaders for these just so when I cast out, it's uh they kind of unfurl. In Hawaii, there's some available, but here I'm gonna actually start making and selling them because it kind of makes sense, you know. So hold on, let me show you. So see, this is one I made, and when you're casting, especially with the long leaders, you could hook the uh, the fly here like that. You cast out, as soon as it lands, boom, the fly actually dislodges. So with this, you can actually cast farther. You can cast with long leaders. Okay, so this, see, fly goes on there. They're all matched up, really. I mean, the length and all that. See, so I can cast this even if it's like super wind resistant. I can cast it out far, but with a sinker, I can't. And I could do like a really long leader, um, really long leaders on these, and they'll work. So I'm working on like the floating versions. This is a hopping version. I wanted to float. Basically, cast it out. You pop it, and then you know it'll actually attract the fish, especially when they're finicky. Something like this, you just pop it, um, and you don't move it, and then the fish would just go after the fly because guess what? While this is floating, right, going up and down, it's actually moving the fly. So automatic fishing, and for me, especially for people that are, let's say, inexperienced, this would level the playing field. So yeah, I'm gonna have these for sale soon in here in Dubai. So I don't know if there's going to be people interested um, elsewhere. I guess I don't know. Maybe I could have it for sale somewhere. I could send some in the states to the states. I could send some to Australia to friends and stuff, and then you figure out the distribution of this later on. Anyway, that's it for now. Alrighty, thanks for the ride, guys. And thanks for keeping me company. Otherwise, it would have been quite a boring session. I mean, how many? Like tied three flies because I was explaining, but majority of the time, what happens when you're doing stuff like this is that you will prepare your materials way ahead of time, and then you're just gonna be banging each and every one, each and every single one of them real fast, and that's how you do it production style. So when I'm doing like uh, 10 flies or over, so yeah, that's kind of like the process. I just wanted to share what I do for these things because I'm pretty sure that you guys will find it quite interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna fill these up. There's quite a few to go, but the video for this fly right here is going to be up in the channel today, and members will see it first. Alrighty, that's it, boys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna end this stream. See you guys later.